It's time to review Amazing Spider-Man 41, part of the Gang War. You haven't read an issue of Gang War yet, have you, Doc?
No, in fact, it's actually been, probably about 15 issues since I read any Amazing Spider-Man, maybe even longer than that.
Well, welcome to the party, Doc. I haven't read every issue of Gang War, but I've read enough at this point, and you haven't missed much. It's basically what's going on in this comic book is just random gangs fighting, a lot of times with Spider-Man in the background. The reason that we're talking about this, obviously we did have Fall, the House of X #1 this week, worse comic book than ASM 41. We did have Fire and Ice, Welcome to Smallville, number 5, worse comic book than ASM 41. But I wanted to be nice and show you that I am a good person. I didn't want to subject you to that. But I did want to wanted you to check out this John Romita Jr. art in Amazing Spider-Man 41, which is just particularly odd.
It really was. I'm a guy that has always been a big John Romita Jr. fan, especially him on Amazing Spider-Man. He's always had his little tricks and shortcuts, but it felt like this issue was nothing but tricks and shortcuts because holy shit, man. Does anyone here have a body below the collarbone?
There's a lot of close-up. Let's talk about this because we'll talk about the art and kind of what the story is. A majority of this story is Kingpin and Tombstone fighting, and it's just close-ups for the most part of these two, like in a headbutting match. But it looks like they're about to kiss multiple times throughout the comic book. If there wasn't like a little blood here or there, you would literally look like they were making out, and it was a Valentine's Day comic, and I was like, man, I hope he doesn't get pregnant.
You're not even showing him like rearing back. All it is two guys shoving their faces, like their foreheads against each other. It was really just weird artistic choices in this. They do this like on 4 or 5 separate, almost full page, 6-panel grid designs, and it just literally looks like they're making out, or Tombstone's trying to eat Kingpin's eye, like right out of the socket. He's got a biting fetish, and then he bit him like right between the eyes on the, like above the nose, but between the eyebrows. And it was a weird place to bite him.
The majority of the conflict in the book is these two fighting, the two Bravo Bulls going at each other. There's a few other things going on. I'm not really sure what the stakes in Gang War are. I've been reading this, and it appears the gangs are just like fighting each other, but they're not really affecting the civilian population. They're only hurting each other. I don't know why Spider-Man wants to stop them. There's a lot of weird jokes from Zeb Wells throughout the story that absolutely destroy any type of dramatic tension that are supposed to be being built up. When Tombstone and Kingpin are facing off before they start kissing each other, Typhoid Mary is like pointing and like waving her fingers and shushing and stuff towards Spider-Man and She-Hulk, and they're confused. They can't tell which one she's trying to flirt with. And it was just really annoying. I felt like I was Spider-Man.
And it was like this ongoing gag through the entire book. Peter thinks, wait, is she looking at me? And then Jen would be like, I think she's looking at me. And both of them being confused and neither of them really wanting it to be going on. Finally, Fisk just kind of loses his shit at Typhoid Mary and decides to just randomly turn it into a fight.
Their kids are fighting over territory. I think that's why they're fighting or whatever. But the weird thing is, this is Amazing Spider-Man, and it's like Amazing Spider-Man Gang War. It's supposed to be a Spider-Man event, but he's a complete passenger in this book. He does nothing.
This is the Amazing Gang War guest starring Spider-Man. He's not stopping civilian casualties. They don't appear to be fighting like in the middle of the streets or anything and causing chaos or significant property damage to other people's shit. There's no personal stakes in it. At this point, he's just there to be there because it has to happen in somebody's book, although there doesn't seem to be any reason why Spider-Man's not just eating a fucking burrito on the side of a building, watching this going down, going, all right, well, I'm going to sit here and play referee in the event that you guys start, endangering civilians.
We have the other big face-off between the Rose. I think she's called the Beetle. I think that's what. Yeah, it's the Beetle. It's just a stupid name. But whatever, like the crocodile guy grabs the arms of whatever Doc Ock version of this is. And then the white bunny lady is like, you can't just start grabbing appendages. How dare you? And then the crocodile guy's like, I thought we were fighting. And it was like, I get it's a joke, but it wasn't very funny. This is supposed to be a gang war. What are they fighting for? I'm not really sure. Better quips.
There does not appear to be any reason why they were fighting, except for because the way that Digger, who's the crocodile guy, he's like, all right, I guess we're fighting. And then all of a sudden, all the girls get all outraged because he's touching them. And it's this
He's not touching them. He's touching their metal, like, tentacles.
He's grabbing the female scorpion's fucking tail. He's grabbing the lady octopus's, tentacles. He doesn't even touch girl Electro, but she's the one that gets all upset about this. In the White Rabbit, they're the ones getting upset and they haven't even been fucking touched. It seemed like an opportunity for Zeb Wells to make a gag about non-consensual touching and how that makes the creepy crocodile looking guy, that makes him a creep because he touches them while they're fighting.
Well, it feels like Zeb Wells doesn't think the stakes are important either. If you can't sell me on the book and you don't think it's important, why should the reader?
It's like this book was filler for the most part because he wants to get to a new paradigm of which crime family is going to be running New York. And he doesn't really seem to have any way to get there. So he's just doing jokey bullshit all the time. And I get it. Look, it's a Spider-Man book. Spider-Man, by his nature, has always been a little bit more of a gaggy type book with a little bit more of a cringy laughs. And it's been that way for, as long as I've read the book. So I get that. But he doesn't undercut all the tension all the time by being a jokester. And at no point here did any of the tension remain beyond the initial panel where it was established.
And then I think in the end, when we get to the end of Gang War, Madame Mask is going to be like the one, is going to be the big villain. But we don't even really know what she's doing for the most part. She's kind of behind the scenes. We thought she was dead. She reemerged and killed Hammerhead or whatever his name is. And now she's got Silvermane's head. She's using him as a paperweight. She's bossing Count Neferi around, making him look like a bitch, basically. But they haven't really fleshed out what she's doing other than she's behind the scenes and maybe she's behind all this.
They're trying to set her up as kind of the ultimate big bad or maybe the puppet master that's manipulated this whole thing so she could set herself up as the new Queenpin of the city. But it seems convoluted as shit. And from what I understand, she basically appears for like one page every issue of this just to slightly move a chess piece. And I get that. That's the way that they've historically done kind of B plot. That way, at least whenever the master manipulator gets revealed, it doesn't come completely out of left field. At least for the reader. It may come across that way for the hero of the story, but us as the readers, we get a little bit more of a peek into that. But it doesn't really, at no point did they try to really establish what her motives here are, except for be the Queenpin, or what her strategy here is.
We just know she's doing something, but we're not really sure how she's doing it. She's manipulating everybody. And then we do get the end of the fight. And like I said, this fight goes throughout the entire comic book. You can see by the end, it does look like Kingpin. He's got some type of hematomas. He kind of looks like Sloth by the end. Tombstone by the end, he's also got hematomas. He kind of looks like the Elephant Man or whatever. And Spider-Man kind of almost gets them apart. And then I guess Wilson Fisk's Bluetooth rings and he goes, I got to take this. And he goes, it's over. I'm leaving. And then that was the end of the fight. And I was like, I guess it started as well as it ended, or ended as well as it started.
Something happened that we don't know about, that Spider-Man doesn't know about and Tombstone doesn't know about. Something, critical happened, but it happened off panel. And it seemed like he was saying like the war is over and I won, but he didn't really say that. It's done. And then he just kind of leaves.
Not the worst comic book you and I have ever reviewed here, Doc. And if you do like action, there's a ton of action, not only in this particular issue, but all of Gang War so far has been wall-to-wall action. It feels like it's stakeless to me because I don't really see like gangs fighting for turf in New York. Like all of a sudden it's the Kangaroo Kicks are taking the West Side from the Samurai Slinks. And it's all these stupid names that you've never heard or you don't care about. It doesn't feel like it should be a 29 issue event series. It should be just like an ASM storyline where they actually could build up the stakes for Peter Parker himself. But that hasn't really happened. Although I imagine at some point Madame Mask will be unmasked as the person behind all this, and then they'll turn on her. Perhaps by then she'll have Aunt May in custody, and Peter will have a reason to fight. But if you like action, there's lots of action.
Yeah, there is. I mean, look, it's stakeless action. And look, for Zeb, John, I get it. You're really trying to give us what you think we want here. Us as comic fans, especially as Spider-Man fans, we always talk about how we don't want all these talking head comics. We want action. But if you're just going to give us action for the sake of action, it's about as entertaining to us. Give us some stakes, build something up here. You haven't really told me why I should give a shit. The only reason a gang war matters is because innocent people get hurt and get caught in the crossfire. You haven't shown me that. You
definitely back out on the action between Fisk and Tombstone. It shouldn't just be headshots of them two headbutting each other. You might want to show a little wind up and maybe the after effects of when they hit each other, and it doesn't look like they're making out the whole time.
Just two people with their foreheads jammed against each other for 4 pages is kind of boring, to be perfectly honest. You're not showing me anything.
I'll give it this. Gang War so far, billion times better than Dark Web, certainly better than Axe Judgment Day, but not nearly as good as Titans Beast World, because Titans Beast World has enormous stakes in it. The world is literally, hanging in the balance. And here, it doesn't even feel like an innocent bystander is hanging in the balance. You only see the gangs fighting each other, and I feel like that's a missed opportunity. But it has been entertaining in the fact that there is a lot of action and lots of characters that you maybe haven't seen lately.
Yeah, I mean, give me a reason why I should give a shit which of these gangs actually wins or loses. Because as it stands right now,
it ain't the Warriors, because I love that movie. But there's clear stakes to that one. They got to get to Coney Island or they're going to die.
Yeah. Tell me why one is even preferential to the other, or tell me a way that Spider-Man can take all of them out at the same time and us root for him to actually have a purpose in this fucking comic book.
He's got a purpose. That's to tell jokes. Me personally, I'm not going to really recommend this one, but if you go and read it, there's something to be enjoyed about that, and you will get a laugh about the art. And that will do it for our comic book review this week, Doc. I spared you some of the really bad stuff, especially Fire and Ice, Welcome to Smallville #5. That is the worst single issue comic book I've ever read in my life. And I could have given that one to you, but I decided to take it all myself. And we got to have a little bit of fun here. But this is not the end of the road. We still have the Q&A that we're about to record, the podcast with the review, as well as the conversation about the CGC holdering scandal will already be up on the Patreon. If people haven't checked out the Patreon, there's a ton more Doc content with me kind of tagging along with you.
Yeah, and normally I get a whole hell of a lot more hot on these reviews and say a lot of shit that you can't get away with on YouTube, but I can over on Patreon.